Hello students, myself Dhananjay Gautam, and this video is part of the series where we'll discuss two mains PYQ questions every day. So this is the first day in which we'll do GS1 first two questions that has come in 2023 mains paper. So the first question that we'll discuss is explain the role of geographical factors towards the development of ancient India. So here we have to discuss what is the theme of the question. So why theme is important? Theme is important because on the theme you have to write your introduction. You have to hit the context directly. Okay. If you have missed the theme and you have written an introduction which is not related to the theme or not contextual, so it will not help the examiner to decipher whether you know that particular answer or not. So it is pertinent that you write the introduction in a best possible manner, which is to directly hit on the theme. So what is the theme of the question is role of geographical factors towards the development of ancient India. So there are two variables here like geographical factors. First, in which you can write your theme, and second is ancient India, in which you can write your theme. You can just design your introduction in a manner that you have to link both geographical factors and development of ancient India in brief. So how, like, best part of intro is a little bit of what and little bit of why. Little bit of what and little bit of why. So for instance here, what are the geographical factors? So you think in your mind that you will write in your body part. So geographical factors might be rivers, geographical factor might be mountains, it might be environment, climate, weather. Okay, so all these are the geographical factor, and what they do actually, how they have developed in led to development in ancient India. So there might be certain reasons. For instance, rivers might lead to agriculture and trade. Okay, then the mountains are there, they might have provided protection, or they might have provided the phenomena of monsoon, let's say. So these might be the reasons. So you have to write in your introduction in which you little bit just touch on what and why aspect. So it will be the best introduction basically, right? So now coming to the body part. So how you will write the body? So in body you will write like what are the geographical factors and how it led to development. So you are just outlining the geographical factor one by one, 1 2 3 4, and you are describing how they have led to development in ancient India. So this is the body part. Then you will write the conclusion. So when we will see the conclusion, okay, while we are discussing this question, we will see how to write the conclusion in this particular question. Now coming to the introduction. So as I have mentioned that what and why aspect of question you have to write in your introduction in brief. So you can just write geography profoundly shaped ancient India. Rivers supported agriculture and trade. Like what rivers do? They supported agriculture and trade. The Himalayas provided protection. Then coast facilitated trade and commerce. Okay, right? And diverse climate influenced economies and cultural diversity. So in just brief, you are outlining the what and why aspect of the question. Now coming to the body part. In body part, you are just outlining various geographical factors and how they have impacted the ancient development in ancient India. So first is the river system. So how river system have developed certain economics and certain climatic factors which led to the development of civilization, right? So you can just outline an example. You need not explain like what are the river systems and how they have contributed. Need not to write whole geography. You just give an example which is Indus Valley civilization. So what happened in Indus Valley civilization? It is centered around fertile plains of the Indus River, flourished due to rivers predictable flooding, which supported agriculture. That's it. And you can also mention other cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa were also established along the banks of the river, which led to advanced urban planning and trade. Okay. Now coming to the second factor, which is natural barriers. Okay, like natural barriers like mountains, like Himalayas acted as formidable barriers which provided protection against invasions. So which led to the stability of the civilization, various civilization. Also, there are various passes like Khyber passes which also ensured certain trade and cultural exchanges with Central Asia, which led to the cultural diversity of India. Okay, then you can say development of religious and philosophical thoughts. Vedic civilization flourished around this particular time in ancient India. So you can just say that because of the stable environment, which is not too cold and not too hot, okay, and which is seasonal, led to the spiritual development and development of philosophical thoughts. You can give an example of religions like Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, etc. Right? Then agricultural productivity is high, not only the rivers but also various other factors like monsoon led to the fertility of the land, and which led to the development of agriculture field. Like the Ganga river basin facilitated agricultural expansion, okay, which led to the emergence of Vedic civilization. You can give an example of cities like Varanasi and Patliputra flourished at the banks of the river, right? Then monsoonal rains, it also helps in the development in ancient India. How? You can give an example that they have benefited for the development of agriculture, let's say, because of the various water intensive crops like rice and wheat grew on these lands, right? Impact of monsoon shaped economic activities and cultural practices. Also you can give an example that because of the monsoon, so due to the change in wind's direction, it led to the more trade with Greeks after the understanding of winds, right? Then coming to coastal areas, because of the vast coastal areas that India has, you can give an example that coastal region like Malabar coast were hubs of maritime trade and with civilization from Middle East and beyond. You can give an example like ports like Muziris served as vital trade centers, okay, exchanging goods like spices, textiles, precious stones. Also, there are various other things. Because of the good climate and diversity in climate, we have very rich biodiversity both in flora and fauna, right? And also we have in Deccan Plateau minerals rich in iron ore, which is crucial for tool making and trade. You can also give an example of how Magadha, okay, developed due to the rich iron ore in the southern Bihar, now Jharkhand, right? Then cultural exchanges and diffusion, because of the various trade routes like Silk Road, which has developed in the ancient India due to the various passes that we have, it led to the exchange of ideas, languages, religions, and technologies between India and other civilization, okay, like Greco-Roman civilization. You can give an example of how we have learned the art of silk weaving from China, okay, and developed our silk industry, right? So in conclusion, so what can be the good conclusion in history? So this is the major question, because many students find it difficult to write a conclusion in history. So I would suggest a single technique in which you have to relate the context which is asked, okay, to the present times, like how we can learn from historical event which we can apply any certain solution which we can apply in the today's world. Okay, so you can just write here that ancient India growth shaped by geography underscore lasting relevance of environmental factors on society. The lessons of sustainable resource use, resilience, global connectivity from its reserves, natural defenses and trade routes are crucial in today's pursuit of sustainable and interconnected world. So whatever problems we are facing today, okay, we can learn from our past to resolve those problems, right? So this is how you write your question number 1. Now coming to question number 2. Question number 2 says, what was the difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore in their approach towards education and nationalism? Okay, so in this the theme is the difference between the thought of Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. So the theme of the question is basically contrast and difference between the two great personalities that we have. So in the introduction, as I have mentioned in earlier question, you have to write little bit of what and little bit of why. Okay, like what are the great personalities and what they have contributed, and little bit of why, like what is the difference between their ideologies in very brief, right? Then the first part is their difference in approach towards education. This is the first part. And their difference in approach towards the nationalism. This is the second part. So in first part, because it is asking for a difference, so I would suggest that in any question which is asking for a difference, you draw a line in between in the page and you write difference, okay, like this. So here on education, you write the difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Similarly, in second part, you write the difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore in nationalism. So what is the difference between their views in nationalism, right? So after this, you write your conclusion. Now, coming to the introduction. So little bit of what and little bit of why. So how you can write it? You can write that Gandhiji emphasized practical value-based education and grassroots nationalism rooted in not non-violence. So little bit of Gandhiji. Then you write Tagore advocated liberal education and universalist approach to nationalism, emphasizing cultural exchange. This is it. So you can write this particular introduction. You can further add their differing educational and national philosophies shaped the ideologies in colonial India. So you have outlined the importance of both the personalities and their views. Now this would be the introduction. Now coming to body. Like obviously that I have said that in body first part would be difference between views on education. So what are the difference between views on education? So you can outline that where their focus lies, what was the purpose of education in their eyes, then what was the philosophy of education. So all this you can write. So what is the main idea of difference between the both? That Gandhiji emphasized for practical education, okay, for the masses, which included vocational skills and self-reliance. Whereas Rabindranath Tagore advocated for creative education, liberal arts, okay, not mass-based education, but to develop a ideal individual, okay, intellectual development of individual, right? Then what is the purpose of education? To spread the values like truth, non-violence and ethics, okay. Whereas in Rabindranath Tagore, the purpose of education was to inculcate the spirit of art, humanities, nature, okay, and encouraging imagination and self-expression. So it is little bit different. It is more of a nationalistic education. It is more of a self-development education, right? Intellectual development in oneself. Now what is the philosophy of education? So the Gandhiji's philosophy is about learning to life skills, okay, learning the life skills, making education relevant to the socio-economic context, so that to reduce the poverty, and to scale mass movements, okay, against the colonial empire. Whereas for Rabindranath Tagore, the education should not be like limited to one particular aspect which is socio-economic, but it should be open-ended. It should be exploratory. It should be regarding the self-discovery, right? So he gave education towards little bit of spiritualistic and intellectual aspect, right? Now, according to Gandhiji, what is the role of education in the society? Role of education is the empowerment of underprivileged section and rural communities. Whereas for Rabindranath Tagore, the role of education is to produce saints and ideal individuals. Okay, so they can enlighten the society with their ideas, which are universal in nature. Right. Then, what is the approach of learning? In approach of learning, Gandhiji emphasized value-based education and practical education through learning by doing, learning while doing, okay, like on job training kind of activity, like Vardha scheme of education is regarding that. Whereas Rabindranath Tagore emphasized for liberal and artistic education, emphasizing freedom and self-expression, okay, similar thing. Now what is the pedagogical approach? You can give an example of the difference between approach of Gandhiji and Rabindranath Tagore. For instance, Gandhiji adopted Nai Talim, like learning by activity and practicality, whereas Tagore adopted Plato's method of curiosity driven learning, right? Now I have given here like 5-6 points. You can just limit your answer to 4 points, okay, that would be enough because this is a 10 marker question. Now coming to the second part of the body, which is difference between views on nationalism, right? The first is definition of nationalism according to both. The definition of Gandhiji is including rooted in their values like non-violence and mass participation, whereas the definition of nationalism according to Rabindranath Tagore is more universalistic, okay, it does not confine to certain border of nation, Okay, it is universalistic, which is applied to every human being. Okay, not only a certain geographical entity, right? Then means of nationalism, according to Gandhiji, it should be non-violent civil disobedience. Civil disobedience for justice, equality and service to humanity. Whereas Rabindranath Tagore criticized this particular point, like way of nationalism. He criticized it as narrow, while he advocated for broader inclusive understanding of human unity. Okay, he did not fought against any bigger entity like colonial empire, but he said that nationalism should be towards humanity, not towards certain geographical entity, right? Now coming to concept, what is the concept for Gandhiji is advocated love or service to one's nation through constructive work, whereas for Rabindranath Tagore, it is to promote higher ideals of humanism and rejecting boundaries of nationhood, as I have mentioned earlier too. You can give an example like how Gandhiji propagated their nationalism you from salt marches, quit India movements, okay, non-violent civil disobedience, whereas Tagore advocated their nationalism by developing the education institution like Vishwa Bharati University. Okay, also you can add certain meaning that because Rabindranath Tagore promoted universal humanism, but when the Britishers violated that humanism in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Rabindranath Tagore also renounced their knighthood because he cannot ally himself to a certain ideology which is anti-humanist, right? So in conclusion also, as I have mentioned that relevance for today is very important. Relevance for today, if you write this, it will certainly uh, help you in getting the good marks because it will impress the examiner that you are thinking of history for improving the present day conditions, right? So you say that this world is torn apart by various conflicts and various issues like environmental issues, like economic issues. So Gandhiji and Tagore ideas will be very helpful in today's world, right? So Gandhiji inclusive nationalism and Tagore's universalist approach both are needed. Both emphasize diversity and peace and are vital today. These ideologies promote empathy, diversity, peaceful resolution of various conflicts, providing essential guidance in the world marked by ethnic tensions and global conflicts, offering crucial principle for higher global community. So you have given the relevance of these two personalities in today's world and their ideas. So this is how you can conclude this question, right? So there are certain things that I would like to suggest to you while writing the answers. So it will be a great help to you. The first thing is, while writing your answer, don't just start writing, just read the question first. Read the question first. Second is, after reading the question, just jot down the what is the theme of the question, which is the context of the question. So this is most important. Many a times students miss the context altogether, and write the introduction on that context. Okay, just think in your mind that you will write on the theme only. Then third part is divide the question into various subparts, and you name how many subparts you will write the question into, like 2, 3, 4. Okay, after understanding the question. Then coming to fourth thing, after deciding how many subparts you will write, you name the subpart, like what would be the subheading of those subheadings. So after the subheadings, the fifth thing that you would have to do is to decide like in what space you would allocate to each subpart into your answer sheet. If there are 2 pages and there are 2 subparts, so in first page you will write introduction and first part, and in second page you will write second part and conclusion, like that. Like equal allocation of space to each subpart. If you are considering these 5 things, then I would say presentation aspect and your context, your content will be very fairly distributed and very fairly concluded, right? Preliminary requirements for good presentation. Okay, so thank you so much. Please wait for the next video in which we'll discuss question 3 and 4 of GS1, which will come tomorrow. Thank you all.